What's up, guys? Your boy Benny. I love a good self-own, and man, there's no greater target for this than Nancy Pelosi. And I know this is a story about Nancy Pelosi, and it's really important because Nancy Pelosi is responsible for January 6th, and she was responsible for all of the security failures, and she refused to put the National Guard at the Capitol. That would have prevented January 6th from ever happening. And the more you look into it, the more you realize what a rat's nest it all was. But I can't help myself but begin by playing you a video of Nancy Pelosi after the New Hampshire primary results, where Donald Trump won in a commanding victory. Nancy Pelosi deciding that she's going to talk about Donald Trump's mental capacity and then mixing up Trump with Joe Biden, proving she has no mental capacity. She's 82 years old, and the Botox is really starting to wear thin.
Well, let me just say I'm not going to spend too much time on Donald Trump's cognitive disorders. But what I am going to say, and I want to, in friendship, say to Chris, he tried to say that Nikki Haley did not allow the National Guard to come, but it was Nancy Pelosi. It was nobody. It was Donald Trump. Well,
what the hell is wrong with her? What is wrong with her? What is she talking about? Okay, so she didn't, though. She's now on tape. She's now on camera saying that she is totally responsible. And we now know through the documentation that Nancy Pelosi did reject the National Guard. That would have prevented all of January 6th. Nancy Pelosi is in charge of the U.S. Capitol as Speaker of the House. That's how it works. Therefore, she's in charge of security. And we know, based on the testimony of Stephen Sund, who is the Capitol Hill chief of police, that Nancy Pelosi refused to take his calls until the Capitol was breached. All of those things are facts. All those things are true. Now, yesterday, there was video of Nancy Pelosi that popped up that was quite shocking. It was video of Nancy Pelosi in the back of an SUV talking about how she's responsible for January 6th.
Responsibility, Terry. We did not have any accountability for what was going on there, and we should have. This is ridiculous. You're going to ask me in the middle of the thing when they've already breached the inaugural stuff that should we call the Capitol Police? I mean, the National Guard? Why weren't the National Guard there to begin with?
They thought that they had sufficient resources.
That is not a question of how they had. They don't know. They clearly didn't know, and I take responsibility for not having them just prepare for more.
So why weren't the National Guard there to begin with? Well, maybe because Nancy Pelosi wanted a photo op. Here's also Nancy Pelosi on the date of January 6th. The more you start to learn about this, the more curious it all gets. This is also Nancy Pelosi wandering down the halls during January 6th at a quite a slow pace, but she slows it down to make sure that the camera lady, which is her daughter, hits them angles. Got to get them angles on J6, right? Got to make sure that the camera person is able to capture every second of what's going on. All of this, of course, along with all of the wild curiosities during January 6th, led many to say, hey, Nancy, what the hell? It seems like you're caught red-handed here. We obviously know that there's documentation which has been released by the COVID subcommittee. The January 6th subcommittee. We know that Donald Trump authorized 25,000 National Guard to be there at the United States Capitol, because the chances of there being rabble-rousers or Antifa or BLM agitators LARPing as Trump supporters, which we know happened because one of them was sentenced to federal prison for 7 years. And the chances of that are very high, so we're going to protect ourselves. And Nancy Pelosi, given the constitutional authorities given to the various branches of government, Nancy Pelosi is the only person who could have ordered the National Guard at the U.S. Capitol. Now, the National Guard stayed there for months on end after January 6th, but there was literally nobody prepared or ready to handle an unruly riot which is what occurred on January 6th. Now, you and I are both suspicious of those rioters, and that's a topic for another live. How does Nancy Pelosi defend this? How does she explain this? Well, ladies and gentlemen, she did her first news hit on this issue, and she could barely keep her eyes open. She could barely keep her teeth in. Time has not been kind to Nancy Pelosi, and I hope that the investigators of what actually happened on January 6th are not kind to Nancy Pelosi either. Let's listen.
Why do you think this is stirred up and a brouhaha on the right and in some corners of the media today?
Well, because of the fact is that the President of the United States, the former president, and his toadies do not want to face the facts. They're trying to do revisionist history on January 6th. But we cannot let us be dragged into their, again, false impression of what happened that day. They know what happened that day. They know how serious it is and was and continues to have an impact on our country. And yet they want to call the people who were in there hostages. Last night I received the Lincoln Award. I was so proud of receiving that. And I said in my remarks, Lincoln built the dome on the Capitol. He insisted that it be built during the Civil War so that it could show the resilience of America. And to see these people.
Dude, okay, you're going to talk about America like you're some type of super... Like, she's got a Ukraine flag pin on. She's got a Ukraine flag pin on. Also, look, she can't open her eyes. Her eyes look worse than Joe Biden's. She can't open her eyes. Also, what is she talking about? Her argument here to admitting all of this on camera is, no, but Republicans did it. I know you are, but what am I? Uno reverse. That's it? That's the best you got? This is the best that all the DNC propaganda and PR teams can do?
Coming through the Capitol with their foul deeds and foul actions, waving Confederate flags and Nazi flags under Lincoln's dome was so shameful. And yet this president who incited, this former president who incited this insurrection would not send the National Guard for hours. People were harmed, people were killed, but died one way or another. And what did he do but...
The only person that died on the date of January 6th was a unarmed U.S. military veteran named Ashley Babbitt, who was killed without warning by a federal official who murdered her. The end. Right? It would be amazing to hear Nancy Pelosi, who, again, looks like she's 17 martinis in right here, answer.
Try to deny that any of it happened. This is a terrible thing, but let us not take away the attention of what we need to do to go forward. We have to unify our country. We have to bring people together in a way that honors the vision of our founders, the sacrifice of our men and women in uniform, as well as the aspirations of our children. I just came back from D-Day in Normandy to see our veterans there it was the 80th anniversary of it. Some of the youngest of them were 97, some over 100. They fought for our freedom, and yet you see how it is being denigrated by the former president and his Republican toadies.
Look at her her final image on the screen there is to suck in her dentures one more time. And she's clearly wildly excited to get off this hit to go insider trade a little bit more. So who are the insider traders in this country? It's Nancy Pelosi. Who are the insider traitors in this country? Well, we hope a thorough investigation into all the evidence that's been hidden, into all of the actions of Nancy Pelosi, and the videotape, the actions on videotape that we now know of from Nancy Pelosi, that those come to light. And I think we'll learn a much clearer picture about what actually happened that day. A lot of weird stuff going on with Mark Milley, Susan Rice. Why was Mark Milley, the Joint Chiefs of Staff, speaking with Obama's national security advisor? What's going on there? What was happening? Ooh, man. The dark tale of January 6th has yet to fully be written. But ladies and gentlemen, we're writing it. You can help us by like, sharing, and subscribing to this channel, and the truth shall set you free.